Music City Grand Prix is green.
ColtonHerta with an excellent jump makes the move on Dixon, but Rossi inside Dixon. Dixon in that orange and blue car, Rossi in the pink Auto Nation car. Herta's at the front.
Rossi with a bold move down the inside. He stuffed it down the inside of Dixon. Dixon turned in.
Hello, Formula One and IndyCar fans. Today is Friday the 13th, 2021. I know, it seems superstitious, isn't it? Well, for the drivers you hope to win in the upcoming races this weekend, I wish them luck regardless. But before I start with my review on the Nashville Music City Grand Prix that occurred for IndyCars last weekend, in Formula One news, I can tell you that for the Aston Martin team who were disqualified because of Sebastian Vettel's car having not enough fuel for inspection purposes for the post-race, they appealed this disqualification penalty, but unfortunately new evidence, considering that their fuel pump failed in a way, explains why they actually had less fuel than they thought. So basically that's why they could only muster up 0.3 liters to extract from the car's tank, and why they couldn't extract any more, because somehow the pump spewed out a little more after the finish line. So the evidence is clear. They've withdrew their appeal, and so the disqualifications for Vettel's Aston Martin stands. So once again, this means that while Ocon is not affected by this points-wise or anything, he maintains his inaugural win in Hungary. Lewis Hamilton finishes second, and Carlos Sainz of Ferrari finishes third, and so on and so forth. Hopefully the next round in Spa-Francorchamps, Belgium, in the end of August, will be a lot fairer and kinder to Aston Martin, Ferrari, and all the other teams without penalty. If you love to be shocked with exciting racing news, then this Saturday and Sunday, August 14th and 15th, the two final rounds of the 2020-2021 season of Formula E take place in the streets of Berlin, Germany. Will Envision Virgin Racing take the Constructors' title, or will Nick de Vries come on top? But it's most likely that this will be the two rounds where the Constructors and Drivers' Championship will be determined. Anything can happen, and probably will, so get your batteries packed up and charged for the trip to Berlin at Tempelhof Airport. Let's see who is shockingly out on top. For starters, the Nashville race was amazing spectator-wise, complete sellout basically. Over 70,000 spectators, and the TV ratings were astonishingly through the roof. Probably the highest TV-rated IndyCar race on NBC Sports Network entire racing history. Oh! Although, naturally, I'm sure some people agree that improvements need to be made to the race course for the future, and Tony Cotman, the track designer, hopefully will address them in the 2022 season, like making some of the turns a little more wide for runoff space, and repositioning the restart lines, because while the race started green flag wise on the bridge, the finishing line was actually closer to the Tennessee Titans Stadium, Nissan Stadium they call it basically. So that needs to be changed, and the fact that they take an eternity somehow after clearing up the track to go from yellow back to green. They shouldn't take that long. So some little rules of organizations about how things are done needs to be addressed, and hopefully in the future going forward, Nashville will do just that, as well as doing better jobs for the grandstands, that one or two of them wasn't finished being constructed at the time of the race. But anyway, since they say yellows breed yellows, the race got off at least to a good start for the first two laps, from starting at the bridge, which I'm surprised didn't happen right away. But by lap 2, Dalton Kellett of AJ Foyt Enterprises, his car stalled and bring out the yellow, and then it stalled twice after going a few hundred meters down the track, in delaying it even more.
Where's Marcus?
Well, as for MarcusEricsson, since they say yellows breed yellows, after Dalton Kellett's car got started again, the race was about to restart. Unfortunately, the cars ended up in an accordion effect when they were about to go back to green, and MarcusEricsson was in for the ride of his life as he accidentally collided into the rear of Sebastian Bourdais' car. Wowzers! That is definitely one flight that Marcus will never forget. And I tell you, the fact that unfortunately Sebastian Bourdais' race was run right then and there, the fact that MarcusEricsson was able to limp back to the pits to make repairs is a miracle. I mean, like, the only thing damaged in that whole crash for Marcus's car was just his front wing and change of tires, but the fact his suspension and nothing else on the car got damaged after that flight, that is a miracle. Like, wow. And Marcus thought that his race would run too as he limped back, because at one point as he was limping, the front wing got wedged underneath the front tires at one point, but he thought, oh, maybe I have to park this. But then fortunately, the laws of physics played out in Marcus's favor. The wing got out from under his wheels and he was able to drive it all the way back to the pits, bringing out another yellow, no doubt, and probably giving him a penalty for the contact with Bourdais. But amazingly enough, fate would play into Marcus's hands later on in the race. And no doubt about it, as yellows breed yellows, more trouble was about to occur a few laps later on, when Will Power and Simon Pagenaud made contact in the final corner, creating a big pileup shown here.
Alexander Rossi, Scott Dixon, Romain Grosjean, Felix Rosenquist, and MarcusEricsson.
Oh, Penske cars
Power
put each
actually
other in the wall.
Pagenaud, Sato, many more. And we have a traffic jam and a stoppage.
Will Power.
I'm sure Roger wasn't happy about that. But this was only one of two red flags that would occur. The majority of the race would be led by pole sitter ColtonHerta of Andretti Autosport, and he was putting on quite a show. But eventually, MarcusEricsson got through that pileup and through all those other yellow flags that would occur between then and there, managed to take the lead with Scott Dixon right behind in third, and Ryan Hunter-Reay and James Hinchcliffe following suit. But just when it looked like Colton was able to catch up to MarcusEricsson for the lead, going over the bridge, unfortunately, Colton ended up throwing it all away.
Townsend. And his hands were on the wheel. He didn't want to let go.
As for Colton's pride, that would hurt a lot. Well, Colton Herta's pride may have been busted, but at least his body was not. So hopefully he'll learn his lesson and do better at tomorrow's Indianapolis Motor Grand Prix. Yes, the Indycars are back at the greatest spectacle in racing, albeit the road course. So let's see who wins that one. But to get back to the race, after Colton Herta crashed out and brought out the red flag, this gave the opportunity for MarcusEricsson, who was actually charging away from Colton, and Colton was on his tail before he crashed out, to take the win. I know, amazing, like the Super Sweep went flying over the French Sebastian Bourdais, landed heavily, but the only damage was his nose cone and wheels and nothing else. So who would have thought that the large chassis was strong enough to take a beating like that and go on to win a race? So it was a Chip Ganassi 1-2. MarcusEricsson, the Super Swede, wins the inaugural Nashville race, and Scott Dixon, his teammate, finishing second. Their other Ganassi teammate, Alex Palou of Spain, finished 7th and still leads the Drivers' Championship. And as a result, it turns out that Ericsson's win means he's earned the most points in the season, and he's now 5th in the championship. Isn't that sweet as Sweden, Marcus? Oh yeah, I wish you good luck as well at Indianapolis. And as for third place, Canada's James Hinchcliffe of Andretti Autosport finished 3rd, finally kick-starting his year. And Ryan Hunter-Reay, his other teammate, finished 4th. So James, you just gotta be pleased that you, Mr. O Canada, have finally made it to the podium.
I love it!
But in the meanwhile, let's just celebrate with some Swedish fish for the sweetest Swede, MarcusEricsson. Yeah! Oh, by the way, remember how I mentioned back in June at Road America that a autistic racer named Cody Ware was driving for Dale Coyne Racing in an association with Rick Ware Racing, to which Rick Ware is Cody Ware's father? Well, he may have finished 19th and on the lead lap in Road America. Unfortunately, his race in Tennessee, his second IndyCar race for that matter with the team, is one he might want to forget about because he spun off out the bridge and finished 10 laps down in 20th.
Oh!
Oh.
Ugh!
Yeah, it's a bummer. Although I do hope we'll see more of Cody Ware in IndyCar racing in the future, especially to race in the Indianapolis 500. Make history for autistic people, just like me. And a group I know called Socializing on the Spectrum would appreciate hearing this video too as a result. It just goes to show that don't let anything like that get in the way of your dreams. Don't let it defy you, but let it define you in a good way. So anyway, in other racing news, or IndyCar news for that matter, once again congratulations MarcusEricsson. It turns out that while you might have been surprised to see Kevin Magnussen at McLaren Schmidt-Peterson race at Elkhart Lake to replace a then injured Felix Rosenqvist, looks like another Danish butter cookie is racing tomorrow's Indy race. Christian Lundgaard, a graduate of the lower Formula races, Formula 3 or 2 I believe, is going to be replacing Santino Ferrucci for this Indy GP at Rahal Letterman Lanigan. So get some Danish butter cookies ready, because he's already shown his potential for the team. While Patricio Ward of Mexico of McLaren Schmidt-Peterson is on pole. And in fact, the McLaren group has already bought a bigger interest in the IndyCar team. So who knows what this means? Well, hopefully a new name, but the same people who run it. Pato and I believe Felix are set for next year's contract with the team. And there's talks that maybe Alexander Albon, the former F1 Red Bull driver from Thailand, although born in Britain, might consider racing in the Indy cars next year. Wouldn't that be neat? Or can Romain Grosjean end up going to Andretti Autosport next year? Let's find out. And anyway, I just wanted to bring up to speed on some amazing facts about the Tennessee race, what's coming up at Indianapolis tomorrow, and the shocking races of Berlin in Formula E. And let's see how this all goes down. And it's a good thing that, well, even though we lost BobJenkins the day after the Tennessee race, who knows if he was awake to see it. But if not, I'm sure that somewhere in heaven, he's smiling down on all of us. Especially for how the Indy 500 traditions and legacies will go on, and the fact that we'll always remember his name. We miss you, BobJenkins. Go with God. So once again, tune in to the schedules shown here on when the IndyCar race at the Indianapolis Motor-Speedway and the Formula E races at the Tempelhof Airport in Berlin start rolling. If you like my videos, thanks for subscribing. Please remember to click the link below to subscribe. Hit the notification bell for when I post my next video. And as always, like and share and comment with your friends and all that. I always read your comments and I like to hear what you have to say. Until next time, I'm Aaron Cylinder, firing on all cylinders.